There we go. Trying to.
You'll have to go from the beginning again.
Okay.
Move it out of the way.
Hit it.
Hit it,
lady. Hit it, lady.
Okay, you guys ready? I'm ready.
Okay.
My name's Diane Kirol, and my friend Peggy here and I went to we went on a Viking cruise. So I'm going to tell you all about it. And if you would please, if you have questions, wait until I'm done. That would be awesome. And then you can ask me questions. You can ask Peggy questions. She probably remembers some things better, and I remember other things. So between the two of us, yeah. Okay, now I'm hoping I'll have to go. Okay, so where we went, we started in Amsterdam, which is very cool. Then we went to, can you say that for me, Peggy? Kinderjerk something. Cologne, Koblenz, Wertheim. And if you notice where it says Rhine and Main, those were the rivers we were on. We started out on the Rhine. Then someplace in there, we were on the Main. And then we went to Würzburg, Bamberg. And then after Bamberg, at some point, we're on the Main and the Danube. And then we go Nuremberg, Regensburg, Passau. And now we're on just the Danube, we went to Milk, Vienna, and we ended up in Budapest. And the places were amazing.
And that was last month, right?
That was, yeah, we left August 10th and we got back August 27th. And she asked me to do this. And it's been my keep awake, go to sleep, work all day. So, and again, here's the places I went. And when I say I, it's two of us. We started out in Amsterdam, which is in the Netherlands. Kinderjerk was in the Netherlands. Cologne, Koblenz, Miltenberg, Würzburg, Bamberg, and then Regensburg and Passau were the last cities in Germany. And I know some people, including the one here, got tired of Germany, but I thought it was great. Then we went to Vienna, Milk in Vienna in Austria, and Budapest in Hungary. And my background happens to be German. So for genealogy, that was perfect, although there's no time to go and, look at anything. So, and one morning we're looking out our window in Amsterdam and we go, wow. And they parked right below us. They turned around and parked. No, that is not our ship. That's the size of our ship. This is not a picture that I took. It's one that I stole because it shows you what our ship looked like. And it's really the only picture that has the top of the ship that you can see. The front has tables where you can eat or drink or just sit out there in the sun during the day. It was pretty cool. And this is a map of Amsterdam. And this one shows where the canals are, where there's any waterways. It's the blue. And it's just that pale. It's not a mistake. That's how it looks. And then this is one that has houses and buildings, whatever. And you really can't see the water quite as well. So I wanted one of each. So this is Amsterdam. It's where we started. Uh-oh, what did I touch?
Just go down and anywhere on the screen and click it, yeah. Go away.
Well, it'll go away in a minute. I'm sorry.
There we go.
See how easy she did that? Okay, here's Peggy and I, and we're on one of the little canals in Amsterdam. And we are not having any fun there, right? Look at us.
We look like a couple of drunkens.
And there you see a few little boats in the background, but it was fun. We just kept going and doing and seeing. And where's my mouse? And people of all ages were riding bicycles, young women and their children, old men, everybody, because they don't have another option. This was the main mode of transportation, which I just said, and this garage was completed in 2023. There are about 600,000 people in Amsterdam, and there's over 600,000 bicycles. So the streets are small. This actual building, it's underwater, and it cost 65 million to build. And I think that's in American dollars. So this holds, when they built it, completed it, it was 7,000 bicycles, and they have since upgraded to 11,000 bicycles. And when people would go in, they park their bike. And I don't know if they get a number or whatever, but when they go in, there's something that registers them. And then they have 24 hours. And if they take their bike out, there's no charge. Pretty cool. And the other one is 12,000. So there's a little bit of difference. So this is just, you'd see any little street and there's lots of bicycles. And this one, I couldn't pass it up. You see what I see? So that one was pretty cute. And you know what? We didn't really see many motorcycles, mostly just bicycles. So this was, we ate at this restaurant, the Hard Rock Cafe. And so this is one type of boat that people like to ride in. This was my favorite. This yeah. But the interesting thing is, okay, the one guy sitting on the other side, he does have a can of something, but anyway, it's kind of cool. But the other thing you really see in this picture is how the buildings come right down to the water.
Yep, that's what we were watching.
Yeah, and then this is even a better view of how they come down to the water. And the very first one on the bottom in the left, you could just jump right out there, go swimming after lunch. You know, if somebody throws up, you just dip them in, right? Okay, so some people live on the water. We were told that these boats that are permanently on the water are like $1 million.
Whoa.
A lot of money. That's where you put your flowers, your plants. If you want anything, there's no dirt, at least in the part we were in. And that there are large buildings and there are small houses. So we went by this place called Pancakes and More, and I was looking at that. So my maiden name, Schreibe. So anyway, it's a little bit different, but this particular building, I took some notes on it and wrote it down. It was originally part of the medieval city wall of Amsterdam. It was built in 1487 as a defense tour. And there was a guy named Henry Hudson, and maybe you've heard of him in your studies of history through the years. He set sail to North America, and he led discovery of modern New York City. He did the Dutch colonization of the area, and currently this is now a cafe and a bookstore. So I didn't really take any other pictures of it, but I could have. So this was one of 4 houses that were, they said they were still, how did they put that?
The original colonial settlement homes are the only 4 left of the original colonial settlement.
Yeah, and they were right across the street from the Hard Rock Cafe, so we got to see them. And this was a very unique thing. They took us by this. We did a lot of tours and they explained things. This is a wooden building. There are no wooden buildings in Amsterdam that you normally see. Now, I don't know if you get out farther that you're going to find them, but in the past, wooden buildings would burn. And so they just didn't have them. And then this was, I have this written down. Shoot. Oh, this is the Basilica of St. Nicholas, which is in Amsterdam. Made it to our boat. Yes. So we're on the top of the boat. This right here is actually another boat. So that's not part of our boat, but you can see kind of what the top looks like. There were chairs. Then that's where they sail from, is in that, I guess, pilot house. So, and here it is we're at Kinderjerk, which is in the Netherlands. And that's how we would get off. They had different docking facilities for us. And here, our first stop, and it was kind of hazy this day, it was smoggy. And we were visiting the windmills. So this particular windmill, it's not lived in. It was furnished and had pictures to show what it was like when there were people living in it. And oh my gosh, they're tiny. And can you imagine having 8 people living in one of those? It was tiny, but it was really, really cool to see. Okay, this is not a great picture, but it's a photograph I took and I love the reflection. So that's the only reason it's in there. And that was at where the windmills were. So then when we left Kinderjerk, we went to Cologne, Germany, and that was August 14th. And would you expect to see a camel? Would you have to take a picture? Yeah, and if nobody tells you fast enough. And actually behind there's a couple others, like right back here, there's another female. I never noticed it until this big picture. So one day, so we're traveling, we did a lot of traveling on the water, on the river during the day. And so when we did, they would have different things. And so this happened to be, we had 3 layers and it had all these sandwiches and cookies. And this was mid-afternoon. We ate anyway, even though we were having dinner later. So then we went to Cologne, Germany, and that was just, oops. So that's just the walkways. If you get a chance when we're going around and seeing things, check out what the ground looks like, what what they're using on the ground, the rocks or the paving, whatever. This was interesting because what happens in a lot of these countries is they have a building that's been built and then they build on up. And so I don't know if any of the lower part of this building has been rebuilt, but you can see the top. And obviously that's a totally different architectural style. And then the other building in the back, you can see what the top of that looks like. So I want to show you a little closer here. Look what's on the bottom. Disappointing. McDonald's. But you can see how the sides are kind of rounded. And then you go up to, when you get up here to that first railing, then the style of the building starts changing. This one's different. And then the top one is different. And so you have all these different styles that mix in. Kind of interesting. And then you saw from the last picture, you saw what it was, looked like the whole building. Okay, we had lunch one day downtown and it was so good. The interesting thing was there were a couple of Northern Germans that were there sitting next to us. And so we asked for some interpretation because he could speak fairly good English. And so he recommended. So it's mashed potatoes, pork, and sauerkraut. And he ate it all except for the fat. She didn't eat it all. Telling me. The Cologne Cathedral, when we got to Cologne, it's German Catholicism and Gothic architecture in Cologne. It's Germany's most visited landmark, 6 million people a year. That's a lot of people. And then it's 515 feet tall. It's the tallest twin spire church in the world. And it's second tallest church in Europe. And that's just general, like if however many spires they have. Ulminster, which is another German church, is 530 feet tall. So this is what it looks like. It's really difficult to get a really good photograph because you're right there and you look up and you get farther away and there's houses and different things in the way. So, we just kind of did. There's one that's close and their football team had just won a game and they were out celebrating. Wasn't it their football? Something. Anyway, so they were there and so you can't really see, but this one shows there's 2 different photographs there. And you can just see the intricacy of all of the architecture and the statues and everything was just amazing. And then on the one on the right, it's got with the glass and everything. I was so amazed with what they did in these buildings. Here it just shows one spire. And then inside, that gives you an idea of what it looks like as well. Incredible. Stained glass. And I don't know if you can tell from back there, but the different things, some of them go together, some of them don't. They're different stories. That was pretty incredible. I like that. Okay, and here is what that church looks like from afar. So we're on the water we're leaving town and you can see the church, and probably the best photo of the whole church was from there. Our next stop was in Koblenz, Germany. And so we're up to August 16th. This was Wilhelm I, and he was very polite and gentlemanly. His grandson, not so much. And so they kind of didn't agree on things, but there were 50 statues of him in Germany before World War II. And I think they were all at some point broken or knocked down, whatever. And so I think it was 15 that were actually rebuilt throughout the whole country. So that's pretty amazing. And I just was fascinated by the rock work and just how it looked. It was pretty interesting. They were pretty talented. And this is one of the castles. Is that not amazing? It's sitting right up there. So we went down, we were on the Rhine River, and we went down it, and up on the mountains, there's castle. There's just an amazing amount of about 20,000 or more, 20 to 60,000, they say in the country of Germany. Do you know how big Germany is? Jan, do you know how big it is?
It's in Montana.
Yep, it's about the same size as Montana. Does that blow your mind? And there are 20 some million, is that what it is? There are a lot of people there. So, and
More
all
than
the castles.
Yeah.
What did you say?
More than Montana.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so here was just another castle and another castle. What we saw, because we were in a river, in a canyon, a gorge, we saw lots of wine vineyards and lots of wine, or no, we didn't see the wine. But what was kind of interesting is the way the wine plants, what are they called?
Vines.
The wine vines are go like this. And so what they said when they would actually harvest the grapes is that they would have one guy and he would have a bag or basket on his back. And then the other guy is somehow, I'm not really sure how he's standing, but he's picking and putting the grapes all in the other
The guy
basket.
with the thing on his back is holding a rope. Because they were kind of rappelled down and then they worked their way.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's like, yes.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. But it was cool to be able to see all the different things that we saw. And this particular castle has different houses than the other one. This is a lock. Has anybody ever been in a lock?
Yeah.
They're pretty cool. And so I had to take pictures because there was a guy on the ship, just one of the friends we had met, and he had never been in a lock. He didn't know how they worked. And so he goes down back to his room and missed it. But then there was another one right after that. So it was pretty cool to see that. And this, what would you think if you see this Coke bottle and a water bottle sitting on top of your ship? So we're looking at that. And then pretty soon, two of the guys that worked on the ship came up and they're adjusting things and looking. Well, sometimes it's so close when those boats go under a bridge that they have to make sure that they can get down low enough. Well, I'd say they're going really close on that. Okay, so this was a fun little store we went to, and this is in Miltenberg, and it's one of Germany's most delightful riverside towns. And so we each got our little picture, and I can't, Kathy something, we couldn't remember, and I can't say it. Okay, I had to show, these were, yeah, they were out there, and those boys, they're having time. The one on the left, he spits for about 10 seconds out of every minute.
Can I say?
Sure.
The boy that spits out of his mouth, they strategically placed a plaque right here, so you walk up to look at the plaque and you get.
Oh.
Very deep.
Yeah, my goodness.
We were warned, so we.
Yeah, we know. So this was kind of what we would see sometimes is we would see this amazing architecture, and the building is not much, but then it has that door that's just pretty incredible. Okay, I'm going to show you this. I'm also going to show you another one. This is the locks that we went through, and you kind of can see how it went. I couldn't find this last night when I was trying to do that, but we actually went through 68 locks
Oh,
from
wow.
Amsterdam until we got to Budapest, and on each end there wasn't too many. And so it just, lists everyone. Sometimes it would be during the day, sometimes it would be during the night, and sometimes we'd wake up with a thud. So I'll show you a picture here in a little bit about how close we would get.
Diane, you want
Yes.
to point that to the camera so they can see
Oh, I don't know what you mean, how to do it.
the map. Put
Oh, the map.
turn the map towards camera.
Okay, sorry, guys. Is this what I do? Up high. Okay, gotcha. Can you see that? Oh, there, I see it. Okay. So you kind of get an idea, but it's probably not real clear. Okay, look at it when you come in. Okay, so Peggy and I fell in love with these dough ball, schneeballen. I don't know what you'd call them, but they were really cool and they were about this big. And of course, the lady that was leading our tour only gave us like this much, just enough to put it all in your mouth at once. But I looked them up last night. I found a recipe and they're really not all that complicated. And I watched online, this guy had this one, he rolled it all out, then he cut it. He only cut it about a ½ inch to an inch away from the edge. And then he just kind of pulled it up and went like this. And then he put it in a screen, obviously bigger than this, but it'd be something like this. If you've ever had these for tea. So it's something like that. It was a really cool thing. So this is the bishop's residence in Würzburg, Germany. The gold and everything that it was amazing. I was just dumbfounded. Okay, this is a picture of a building. That's part of what the bishop's residence, but we're going to see more of it. But it's kind of cool. Look at the devastation after World War II. Everything is just nothing. And so this is one. And so what it was is not only America, but other countries all chipped in so that they could rebuild Germany because it was so devastated. There was some places there was nothing left. This is a picture of what the building is that you just saw in the last picture. And it just is kind of it's pretty rough and you'll realize what's going on here, hopefully. So this is the building after it's rebuilt. And so it's got the two side parts, the middle, and then it's got that rounded roof up there. That's pretty cool. Inside, I would love to show you, I could show you pictures all night, but I have to make it short. You can see their legs sticking out in different body parts, and sometimes they have whole body parts, and it's interesting how this was done. Then this is in the chapel. There was so much gold in there. I couldn't believe it. What did you call it?
Lottie.
Yeah, she called it Gaudi. I thought it was cool.
Was it Gaudi?
Oh, it was done.
There was so much.
Gaudi.
Yeah. So the next place is Bamberg. And this is going through a lock, and you can kind of see we're pretty close. This picture right here was about this far from the edge of the lock. The other side maybe had this much room. They were tight and they rarely hit. One morning we heard them hit, but otherwise I was amazed. The next picture is in Bamberg, and notice the roof. So, they're so old, thousands of years, some of them, the churches anyway. This was kind of cool because it was the wall that was painted on and just it had different scenes. A lot of it we see in people that are, statues, whatever. But look at right here. So can you see that? Where do I need to poke? It's so it's on the bottom. See the bottom where there's a leg sticking out? So it's, sometimes you see that, and then there's one at the top too, a body. These were some of the paving in the towns. This is only a couple. I was fascinated. I took lots of pictures, but you don't have to look at all of them. This was wood. Now I remember him saying 8 feet. Yep, 8 feet. That's how deep those went.
That was for sound because the horses came through there and they were bothering the guy in charge, so he had these posts put 8 feet down to make no noise.
That'd be incredible. This was kind of my favorite place. And this is in Bamberg and, right? We're in Bamberg, right? Okay. This was beautiful. It was just so fun. And then there was a lady, she was like right here, to the right of the black building. And she was just out there picking flowers and trimming stuff up and having a good old time. The other thing I want you to notice in these pictures is the blue sky we had. Absolutely incredible. So when we were in Nuremberg, this is part of a castle. And notice, I don't know if you ever look at your weather on a phone. It's down to a 2. I've never seen a 2 before. You know, Great Falls can get down in the 20s, but never a 2. So that was pretty cool. So the sky over there is not smog ingested. It was just beautiful blue. We were so lucky with our weather. I checked last night. It was raining. Someplace was supposed to get 1.19 inches of rain. But oh, we're done. And lots of flowers that we would see. These buildings, board and batten, is that what they're called? And you could actually look at these really close and see that that wood really was wood. This is just some more buildings for you to see. And then you can see in the background how sometimes they're very large. This was that, oops, this was the, I can't remember the name of it. It was one of the large, I can't remember. Anyway, okay. So this shows one of the roofs. What at the that like, do you remember what that was? Like that castle?
There were castle.
It was a castle. You know what? There was
Castle.
there
About
were
a big
so
hill.
yeah, there were so many people. I mean, there were so many castles and buildings and everything, churches. It's like if this room were packed full and you knew maybe one person, and how would you remember everybody's name? That's how it is for me. Peggy does really well. So just some more of what it looked like. So there are 2 different spellings of berg or berg. So it's ERG or URG. And so one, if it's ERG for the Germans, it's a mountain. And URG is Burg, is a defensive medieval castle. In English, we've merged the ER and the UR and we just have an R. So we have one berg or berg. We say it both the same way, or they would have 2 distinct feelings and knowledge of those. And this is St. Peter's Cathedral. And are we still in? I can't remember if we're still in.
We're in Regensburg.
Okay, Regensburg. I need some help here.
Okay.
It's, you know what, all this names and places and it's
And
difficult.
the director of the ship was calling it the birds.
We're
We're in the birds.
So that's just one of the churches. And what I have to say is the photography was difficult because you're always at an angle and you look up and you go, oh, that looks pretty good. And you take a picture and then you look at it and go, not so good. So it's a real challenge because you're so tight. Here's some more of the painting on the wall, which is kind of interesting on the outside of that building. And now we are in Milk. This is the Milk Abbey. It's a Benedictine abbey that overlooks the Danube River. And this was founded in 1089. So they've been around. This has been around for a long time. And then it was rebuilt. This is looking over the edge. And most of the stuff in there we couldn't photograph. Like we went into this library that had books that were, you know, 2 deep. And so you could see the outside books. How many books was in there? Lots, in the thousands. It was amazing. And then we're at August 23rd in 2025. And this is at Milk Abbey. And we're on the street, we went by and the guy says, get a picture quick. This is your only chance. So, you know, we clicked and actually I did pretty good. So we went to where the Lipizzano stallions are. Didn't actually get to see them, but we did
Well-
get to go in where they had their gear.
We did, they were sleeping.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't show you any pictures. But this guy on the bottom left, he did not think that was fair. So that's how he told us. So what we got to do after we came out from looking at the stallions, we got to go on a coach ride. And so that was really cool. And there was another couple in there. And so we just went around for like 30 minutes, went around the town and saw things. And so they took our picture, we took their picture. It was kind of fun to have the pictures. So now we're about to arrive in Budapest. One side of the river is Buda, the other side of the river is Pest. And it's all called Budapest. But this is just one of the buildings. I have no idea what name it is. It was just on the side of the water when we came into the city to dock. And so this was interesting. And this is the tile. It's not what you would think of as normal roof tile or building tile, but it was pretty cool to see that. And then this church was all like the tile, the 5-sided, whatever, but it was pretty cool still.
What kind of a church, you know? Was
I don't know what kind of a
Lutheran
church.
or Catholic or?
They were built as Catholic churches, and then when Martin Luther came along, they all converted to Lutheran. Not all, but most. So most of them that we were in started out as Roman Catholic and ended up as Lutheran. But I don't remember, this is
Matthias, yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't remember whether it was Catholic or not.
I had wondered when I had looked at this in the first place, if it started out really as a Muslim.
No, this
I don't
one
think
did
so.
not, and this one did have the Virgin
Moorish.
Mary and stuff in it, so it probably still is Catholic. We got confused because they kept talking about the Catholics and Lutherans
And this was in Budapest. So this was after 15 days.
of churches.
And you know what? You just keep everything straight in that long of a tour. So we went to the Grand Market Hall and it was hot. Whew. But it was interesting to just see and walk around, and I don't think we bought anything there. We were on a tour and then they took us into a restaurant and we got to eat. And this is what our boat looked like. This is the big dining hall. And so it was, there were 190 people maximum that they put on these ships. I'm not sure what ours had. I do know of 2 or 3 women that were by themselves, but that's the seating. And then you have those big windows. Ta-da. And so that you could just see, you could see out and see everything. And that was pretty cool. I'm done.
Very good.
Yes.
Being a gardener, I just want to add real quick that you saw all those geraniums and all those German windows. And they serve the purpose of keeping the bugs out because they don't have screens. So when you see the ads for the mosquito beater plants, they're really the pelargoniums. They are what we call geraniums that have that scent that keep the bugs from coming in the windows. That's why Germany has so many window bugs. So that was interesting.
And then after go ahead.
So back to Amsterdam area, which came first, the canals or the buildings?
Yes.
The buildings are actually about 10 feet under sea level. So I think that the canals came before they could really build.
When we were at the windmills, they were explaining the flooding, and the picture she had with the beautiful reflection of the brick building is the modern day, how they control the water levels. But their water control is an engineering feat. I mean, it's just amazing, and it came later. The windmills also are inhabited by a religious group, not unlike our Amish. They don't have cars, they have bicycles and some things, and we didn't get to go into their homes. We just got to see that one Diane showed you that's empty. But it was really interesting how they live so humbly, and the government owns the windmills. And they don't really function anymore for water control, but they want to preserve them as part of their heritage. So this religious group lives in. It's kind of interesting.
Very interesting. Any other questions?
Questions? Any other questions?
I covered it all.
Good
Yeah.
job.
Or
I covered that. That was-
Makes sense, but she's also